Hi, I'm Finch Berling, and this is More Than Streams, the weekly music marketing podcast that will teach you how to get, you guessed it, more than streams. I'm happy to be back, and I have three very exciting updates. Which one should I start with first? I will start with the fact that I'm back in Bulgaria after a few months in Vietnam, and if you hear my voice being a bit cracky, that's a word, being cracky, then that's because it's spring here, it's very great weather, but every time I change the season, I start to get a bit sick, so I decided I have to record this episode even if I don't feel 100% well. So if my voice sounds a bit rusty, then that's the reason. I'm happy to be back, and I am going to stay here until October, and then I'm going to Amsterdam for the Amsterdam dance event. And from there, I'm taking a cruise to Central America. So I will be in the Caribbean and Mexico for a while, and then after that, maybe to South America. I love Argentina, and I can't wait to be back there. If you are from anywhere in South America and you want to recommend a place to stay for a few months, a nice city or small town, anywhere in Argentina, Peru, Chile, even Mexico, just let me know. And I would love to hear about it. So that's the first update. Second update is that I'm working on my new agency website, More Than Streams. So after 3.5 years of having this business, I'm finally going to have my agency website, More Than Streams, and I'm working on it hard just to build it by myself using Claude Code. And hopefully by the month of June 2026, you will be able to go and explore the website and the different tools and all the crazy things that I'm going to add there. So probably I will leave the link in the description of this episode so you can check it out. And the third update is that I forgot what I wanted to say for the third update. I mean, this is why I always have notes when I speak, but I didn't have the notes for this beginning of the episode. So I screwed up. So maybe later I will remember, but there will be a third update, I promise. Anyway, that was the intro, and let's move on and talk about today's topic. So Spotify launched a verified badge for artists this year, and I feel like a lot of musicians assumed they would automatically qualify if they are real artists and they make their own music and they're not AI. So why wouldn't they get the badge and get verified by Spotify? But the badge ended up doing something most musicians didn't expect. So it basically sorted everyone into three groups. There are artists who are clearly AI-generated profiles with no human behind them. And there are real artists who haven't built enough of a presence to qualify yet. And the third group is real artists who are doing the right things and getting verified. So you have the first group, which is AI musicians, or not really musicians, AI prompters. The second group is real artists that don't have enough impact. And the third group is real artists with enough impact to get verified. And you don't get a choice about which group you're being compared to. So Spotify drew that line, and every listener who comes to your profile is going to see where you fall. Now, if you make music purely for fun, this probably doesn't matter to you, but if you want to be taken seriously by labels, managers, playlist curators, and even fans who are deciding whether to follow you, then the verified badge is basically the minimum signal that says, I am a serious artist. And yes, it feels a little unfair, but don't hate the players, hate the game. So this episode and part 2 are about making sure you are in that third group, how to be verified by having enough impact. And even if the badge wasn't a thing, everything we're covering in these 2 episodes gives you the actionable things to do to grow on Spotify beyond streams. So either way, this is worth your time. So let's talk about what Spotify is looking for. There are 3 criteria, and this time I have them written down so I will not forget. The first is what they call sustained listener activity. At least 10,000 monthly active listeners over 3 months, plus at least 1,000 followers. The second is platform compliance, which basically means you haven't been flagged for spam, fake streams, impersonation, or policy violation. The third is profile authenticity, which covers your bio, your linked social accounts, whether you have tour dates or merch on your profile, and whether you present yourself as a real human artist. I'm going to come back to criteria 2 and 3 in part 2. And there is a lot to cover there, so make sure you listen to the next episode, which will come out next week. Today I want to focus on the first criteria for getting verified by Spotify because I believe it's the hardest for most independent musicians to get and also the most misunderstood. Before I go any further, I want to make something really clear. So monthly active listeners and monthly listeners are 2 different numbers. Monthly listeners counts anyone who heard your music, including people who heard it passively because it came on someone else's playlist while they were driving or cooking. So they're not really fans, they don't really know your name, they're just passive listeners. But monthly active listeners means people who are actively seeking you out. They search for you, they chose to play your music, and they might even remember your name afterwards. The 10,000 threshold is for monthly active listeners. That's the harder number, and a lot of musicians don't realize they are far from it because they are looking at their monthly listener count instead. So, what moves the monthly active listener number? The short answer is saves and return visit. When someone saves your song, adds it to their own playlist, or follows your profile and comes back for more, Spotify reads that as active listener behavior. When someone streams your song once from a random playlist and never comes back, that's a passive listener or a ghost listener. It helps your stream count, but it doesn't move you towards the 10,000 threshold. I talked about this in earlier episode when I broke down the whole listener funnel, and it's basically the same idea here. A save is worth more than a stream. A follow is worth more than a save. And someone who comes back and plays your music again is worth the most because that's what an active listener looks like. So the question is, how do you get more people to save your music and come back? That's where meta ads come in. And you know I love meta ads. And I know some of you just rolled your eyes because I talk about it maybe way too often, but stay with me, please. When you run a well-targeted meta ad, you're sending a specific person, someone who listens to your genre, to a specific song. And when those people save the song, follow your profile, and come back later, Spotify pays attention to that pattern. Generic or poorly targeted ads do the opposite. They send traffic that doesn't engage, and that can confuse the algorithm rather than help it. I will give you an example. Actually, it's a very fresh example. So I'm launching, or how do you say this? Like I'm promoting now my new playlist. It's going to be a country playlist, and I'm going to call it Country Road Trip. And the goal is to get people to listen to the playlist over and over again while they are on a road trip or just driving a car. And inside my ad set, when I created the ads, I targeted people who like country music, people who use Spotify, but most importantly, people who go on road trips. So this way I know that I targeted the right person for my ads because they like going on road trips, they're interested in it, and if they go and follow the playlist, they're very likely to stream it more than once. And also they're very likely to follow it and like the artist. So you can create a very generic ad and you can target everyone on the universe, and maybe you will get more streams and lower cost per conversion. But you will not get people that will stream your song over and over again because they're not the right people. So this is why it's important to target the right people. And when you do that, you will get them to stream your music again and again, and you will get the repetitive listener. So that's what you want. And a lot of musicians assume that getting on playlists is the fastest path to 10,000 monthly listeners. And I'm talking about getting on playlists that are not yours and that you can't target yourself. And I understand why. Playlists can get you a lot of streams fast, but playlist streams are mostly passive. Someone hears your song, they don't save it, they don't follow you, and don't come back. The stream count goes up, but the active listener number barely moves. Getting on playlists is still worth doing, but if you're trying to hit this specific threshold, playlists on their own aren't going to get you there. The other thing that moves the active listener number is releasing music consistently. Here's why. Someone becomes a monthly active listener by actively seeking you out, and they can only do that if you give them a reason to come back. If you release one song and then disappear for 6 months, and I know a lot of artists who do that, you lose the listeners you built. And listeners who stick around as active listeners usually keep hearing from you through new releases and through new social media content and through algorithmic playlists like radio and Discover Weekly because you stay active. Releasing music consistently is super duper important if you want to reach this threshold. And in part 2, I'm going to go into specific strategies for releasing more music without burning out, because I know a lot of musicians feel stuck on this one. They simply can't release a song every month. And I get it, and there is a simple way to be able to release music more consistently, and I'm going to share it next week. Now, we covered the threshold of reaching 10,000 active listeners, and now I want to talk about another thing that Spotify is looking for, and this is getting 1,000 followers on Spotify. And this is one musicians can reach very fast if they changed one habit. So most musicians, they ask for streams or saves, and almost nobody asks for a follow. And I get why, because asking for a follow feels a bit transactional. But a follow is how you stay in someone's life after they listen to you once, because you get on their release radar, and many times you will just show up on their profile every time you release a new song. If they stream your song and never follow you, there is a good chance they will never hear from you again, even if they liked your song. So I'm going to share the most effective way to fix this. Here it is. When you promote your song on social media, don't send people directly to the Spotify link. Send them to what's called an action page. And you can create one on a website called feature.fm. And basically, when someone clicks the Spotify button inside the page, you get a follow from them automatically. They don't have to go find the follow button themselves. They just go to stream the song and it follows you automatically. It just happens as part of the click. And between releases, you can do the same thing with a playlist. Create an action page for a playlist you run and promote it on social media or with ads. And every time someone clicks through to listen to the playlist, Spotify also follows your profile. So even when you don't have a new song out, you're still building followers. Another tip is about your Spotify profile, because it plays into it too. When someone saves your song and clicks on your artist name, they arrive on your artist page. And if that page looks empty or generic, a lot of them won't bother following you. But a complete, well put together profile converts a lot more of those visits into followers. I'm going deep into what that looks like in part 2, along with the bio, linked social accounts, merch, show dates, and basically all of that. If any of this is making sense and you want to keep going deeper, then you can check out the next episode next week. And also make sure to check out my free newsletter, which I send every Tuesday with music marketing tips for independent artists. When you join the list, you get a free 100-page marketing guide that covers a lot of what I talk about on this show. If you want my free guide and if you want to join my email list, just send me a DM on Instagram with the number 100. I will send you the link right away. So that was part 1. We covered what the verified badge requires, why monthly active listeners is the number that matters, and why it's different from monthly listeners. We also talked about how saves and return visits build toward the 10,000 threshold, why playlists alone won't get you there, and how to use action pages to build followers automatically. And I covered everything I wanted to say in this part. And I'm sorry I forgot the third update. Once I have it, I will share it on Instagram. Make sure to follow me there. And if you liked this episode, rate it 5 stars on Spotify and leave a comment. You can also do that on Spotify. Your feedback is really appreciated. Part 2 is going to be next week, and it's going to get really practical. We're going through your entire Spotify profile, bio, linked social accounts, merch, show dates, all of it. I'm also going to share a strategy for releasing more music without burning out. And we are covering what to post on social media to keep people coming back after they find you for the first time. If you have been building on Spotify without a clear system, part 2 is going to fill in a lot of gaps. So, see you in the next one. Ciao, ciao.